Hello everyone, welcome to The Wrap Show here at the Paramount Theatre in downtown Seattle. It is day one of our World Championship. Rich and BDM here with you to walk you through everything that happened. Well, we knew with 24 great players, we would see great players at the bottom, great players in the middle, great players at the top. All of that came true, but it's still been a really great start to our World Championship week.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to watch three tremendous draft tables. Watch people, really dive into this format of Eldritch Moon, Shadows of Innistrad, and learn that there were still some new cards that still hadn't gotten played yet. We talked to JC Tao, who went 3-0 in his draft, and used Prophetic Ravings, a card that a lot of people have been very down on in this format. He's like, but you know what, I was playtesting and it worked really well for me.
Okay, why don't we take a look at our three draft pods and we'll show you what happened through the day. So that's the overall record from draft one. So those were the pods from this morning. You see Brian Braun doing there after his good start to the day. JC Tao was 3-0. In draft. We'll get a full look as we head through. Let's take a look at draft pod number one, if we can. Moving on from there, you've got Yuya Watanabe. There's pod one. Marcio Carvalho turned his 3-0 into 6-1. From there, Joel Larson didn't recover. He ended up at 2-5. And then our second draft pod, let's take a look at those. Well, there you see Sigrist and Manfield were 5-2, and Niels Norlander and Martin Muller at the other end only 1-6. So those were the way the three draft tables stacked up. And the thing is, BDM, you look there, there's no hiding place, right? No. Every draft pod is just absurdly good.
And there's no soft landing spot on the other side of the draft pod. There is no easy 0-3 matchup.
Right. So let's take a look at where we were going through the standings after those drafts. So here's where those 24 players stood. The three big winners, JC Tao, Marcio Carvalho, and Mike Sigrist. The three who still couldn't buy a win, Andre Strasky, Joel Larson, and Niels Norlander. Everyone else, BDM, within a win of each other, exactly as the math demanded.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big story there, of course, Marcio Carvalho, who extended his premier level draft winning streak on Innistrad to 15-0 here at the World Championship.
Absolutely absurd. But at that point, we put 40 cards away and we move into 60 cards. So the question is, what does that mean? Well, we go into standard, 4 rounds. A standard format, BDM, we go to the Pro Tour and we never know what's coming, and the pros always deliver. They give us a completely different standard than we expect.
Absolutely. There's 2 weeks or so after the set comes out. The sets are the Pro Tours are named after those new sets. It's their arrival in the standard format, and there's always some real secret that's going to be there. But by the time you get the Pro Tour, by the time you get the multiple open events and the Invitational and then a Grand Prix or 3, the format begins to become a little more explored. And then it becomes a guessing game about what deck are you going to bring, what is the field going to look like, how do I position myself in this field.
Yeah, so it was very different. The one thing that we sort of knew, if there was going to be one card that we thought was going to be around a lot, it would be Collected Company. And in the end, a little more than 50%, 13 of the 24, played some version of Collected Company.
Yeah, there were 13 Collected Company decks that came in 3 different flavors. There were 7 people playing what you would describe as a classic
straight Bant
Company deck. There were 5 players playing the Bant Humans deck that if you saw Brad Nelson at the Invitational, that's a deck he played there. And then there was our reigning world champion, Seth Manfield, playing Bant Spirits, and we got to do a deck tech with him about that deck. So if you want to find out about this different way to play with Collected Company in the waning days of this standard format, that's a great deck to take a look at.
So we saw where everyone was after 3 rounds. How about 5 rounds? So then they've played 2 rounds of standard. This is how the leaderboard stood. There was only one undefeated player, and it was Mike Sigrist, former Player of the Year. Carvalho at that point had gone 1-1 in standard. JC Tao and Brian Braun doing and Seth Manfield, their BBD, the Grand Prix master, continuing his excellent run at 4-1. Poor old Niels Norlander, the Magic Online champion, hadn't won a match at that point. Good news is he's about to on our scoreboard, as you'll see. So with 2 rounds to go, that was the state of play. What about the end of day one? Let's take a look, BDM, And where are we right here, right now?
Well, we have 2 players left at 6-1. They are your tournament leaders. They are Marcio Carvalho and Brian Braun-Duin, your draft master and your Grand Prix master, people who are playing, a ton of Magic. But right behind them, former Player of the Year Mike Sigrist, right at 5-2, and Seth Manfield at 5-2, and Pro Tour champion Lucas Blohan, who has continued his hot streak of win a Pro Tour, top 8 at GP, now is in 5-2 and just 1 match off the lead here at the World Championship.
And if you want to know just how hard this tournament is, look at Reed Duke here. He's 4-3. Doesn't sound that great, does it? It's barely more than 50%. 2 of his wins were against Owen Turtenwald, friends, teammates. Twice they had to play, twice Reed Duke wins, and that's how he ekes out a 4-3 record, barely past 50%.
Worth noting, you see Luis Scott Vargas in 11th there. If you looked at our previous graphic, you would notice that he was in 17th.
Right.
2 rounds before this.
He was 1-3.
Yeah.
So then went 2-3, 3-3, and just won.
Right, just won. He goes to 4-3 and is in, pretty good shape going into tomorrow, pending his, 1 more draft, and then, what was his deck of choice in Modern.
Right. So our best guess is that somewhere in the 9-5 range is where the cutoff for top 4 may be. If you get 10 wins, that's pretty much done and dusted. Great. If you get 8 wins, that's not going to be enough. So for Martin Muller 1-6, Niels Norlander, they're pretty much done. The best they can do is 8-6. That's if they run the table in draft tomorrow and Modern on Saturday. So they're pretty much done. Very tough even for the 2 and 5s, Takamura, Tamada, and Larson. But from Owen Turtenwald upwards at 3 and 4, who had some terrible luck and some horrible matchups and will feel actually, I think, pretty bruised coming out of today at 3 and 4. But from Owen upwards, still very much in with a shout. And tomorrow, Brian, we come back again, and it's a sort of, as part of the marathon, it's the mid-season sprint tomorrow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We are going to have 3 rounds of Shadows over Innistrad Eldritch Moon draft. We're going to break these players into pods, and you can sort of just draw a line every 8 players here, and you can sort of see how the draft pods are going to fall out.
Right, and what that means is because there is a top pod, a middle pod, and a bottom pod, in the bottom pod, somebody here will go 3-0, and if you're, let's say, Andre Strasky at 3 and 4, well, you can come out of the tomorrow afternoon at 6 and 4 and very much in with a shout. The winner of the bottom pod buys a ticket into the top 4 lottery. The mid-table 9, Shota Yasuoka, they're pretty, a mix of 4 3s and 3 4s. Again, the winner there right in the thick of things, especially if it's one of these 4 and 3s. But then the top table, this is the most interesting because it all compresses BDM because only one of them gets to 3-0. Let's just imagine it might be Marcio Carvalho for a moment.
He could not remember offhand the last time he lost a match of Limited at the Pro Tour this year. He's like, I think it was the 2nd Pro Tour in the last round, but I'm not sure.
Right, just extraordinary. And at that point, that means the field is going to really tightly compress. It's going to be awesome fun. That's coming tomorrow, Modern on Saturday, top 4 on Sunday, all the world of Kaladesh coming your way.
I was just going to say, on top of all of that, we get to explore Kaladesh.
Yep. Tomorrow, we will be here at 11 a.m. Pacific for the grand opening of Kaladesh. It is an extraordinary event. You will not want to miss it. And we'll be back in the afternoon with coverage of the World Championship Day 2. It is appointment to View TV. Don't you dare miss a thing. For the hundreds of people who are putting together packs for your entertainment here at Wizards of the Coast, Rich, BDM, saying bye.